2025 on Good Girls, and I feel like I have aged 10 years in the past year. So there is too
In
much.
all ways, physically, mentally.
Yeah, the earth is on fire. So yeah, there's just so much to cover. We're gonna mostly stick to the silly stuff, or I don't know, our theme is just like shit
2025-ish.
Shit that's yeah, mostly related to 2025. We might be too lazy to have looked up exact dates on some things. Who knows? Time is a flat circle. And just theme being shit that is of general interest to good girls.
So, can we start off with TV?
My Escape. Yes, please. What about the White Lotus and just a whole new season of weird sexual energy that
The
came from.
brotherly romance.
Yeah, that Emmys to those actors for portraying that and just being willing to sign up for just playing such humiliating characters. It was
The
just
image
well
is
done.
branded in my mind.
Yes. But I mean, it's so good too because I just feel like if you've known like douchey rich kid nepo babies, like that totally seems like something that could happen. Like it was so uncomfortable because it seemed like something that could have actually happened.
Yes, I would agree with
Didn't wanna
that.
watch it, but points for realism.
I wanna give a shout out to Heated Rivalry because that was been kind of like a big deal. It is
Yes.
a hockey gay
So that
romance
is some
that was based
man-on-man
off the
that is some
book, yeah.
man-on-man romance that I do want to see. Um,
And it's getting picked up and, like, shout out backwards to when we interviewed Lucas. And he mentioned him, and him was this big book in terms of gay romance. It was written by a female author, and it was a male-on-male, gay romance, but it's, like, very loved and very recognized
yeah, I
by
feel like we
readers.
learned so much
So
recording that episode about that most of that it is such a big piece, a growing piece of romance, but most of the readers of man romance are straight women, and most of the authors are straight women. And so while the books were written by Rachel Reed, a woman, I think the interesting thing with the show is that the showrunner is Jacob, or the show's creator is Jacob Tierney, who is openly gay. So I feel like when we were discussing that with Lucas, we were kind of talking about I just have like questions about how well straight women are able to write gay romance. And I mean, obviously these are beloved books, so she probably did her research and they are written really well. But I think you need especially an additional layer of authenticity when you're portraying it on screen. I actually don't. I was surprised because I feel like I looked it up and I don't think that the actors that portray the two main characters are themselves gay. And I was like, that is very impressive because if they're not, they're very convincing. I was very interested to hear when I was looking up details about them. The guy who plays Rozanov is not Russian, which I was like, I would love for a Russian speaker to listen and like to a Russian native speaker. Does he have like an accent or anything? Because if you had told me that he was a Russian, totally believed it.
that's super interesting.
How do you, like,
Yeah.
learn Russian that well for a show? Actors continue to amaze me. But also, I guess, very hot on-screen couple, and there is, like, some speculation or they have said that they're, like, best friends off-screen,
Wow.
and that they would like some privacy, but they're like, "Oh, it's just, like, so easy to have that on-screen relationship when we're, like, best friends off-screen," and they got matching tattoos together and stuff, so, um
Huh? So that's interesting. I was just in New York City and at Comedy Cellar, the comedian was talking about how men and women are very different. He was at this dinner and they're like, this woman who we're friends with hooked up with like that woman over the weekend. And he's like, oh, I didn't know that she was lesbian or bisexual. And they're like, oh, no, no, no. She's not a lesbian. She just likes to party. And
Oh.
he's like, huh. He's like, we're very different because if a man told me like, "Oh, I had like sex with a man over the weekend, but like it's just because I like to party." I'd be like, "Huh, I think we have different definitions of party."
I think you're not a 1 on the Kinsey scale, right?
So that's a nice segue to the relationship between Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, which I think is a major like part of 2025 pop culture.
Yes,
Is
the
like
little
the
meme of their little
interlaced
fingers
touching
interlaced together.
because I think it's actually like I don't want to touch on the body weight discussion at all. I
Yeah,
don't want to.
thank
But
you.
I
Me
think that
neither.
their actual bond with each other was like so looked upon and scrutinized and said, a lot of different things about. And I'm like, I don't know, are we just watching like a very, very close female friendship on
I know.
screen?
Can this not be just like the year of female friendships trumping all else?
Like they seem to genuinely care about each other and support each other and like they're touchy, but that's
And
nothing.
anyway, I loved their chemistry on screen way more than I believed the chemistry between Cynthia Erivo and the guy who played Fiero because like it was more him that he just was like so intense and stalkerish that I don't know, he was just like staring at her with such intensity in his eyes that I was like, are you going to kill her at the end of this? Like is this the twist?
I just wanna make sure that we're giving credit where credit's due, and that was Jonathan Bailey, who
That's
was
same.
People's Sexiest Man Alive in 2025, and he was the
Maybe
first gay man to receive that honor, and
okay.
let me tell you, if you look at pictures of him or, like, see an interview that he does, or his audition tape for Wicked, which he did after being on stage, immediately afterwards, he's just, like, in the background of a theater, that
Playing
man
was he
is
playing in Wicked on or
I
he
don't think he
just
was playing
okay.
in Wicked, I think it was in
Yeah.
a different thing, but he just, like, it was very clear that, he didn't have, like, a perfect setup for himself and
Mhm.
all that, but just, like, leaking charisma and sexiness, and he said that his dream date is staying in and doing a Lego set with each other.
Okay, 10 out of 10 would, date him if he ever wants to try women for a while. I like him, and I do think that he is very attractive, and I am just, like, very excited that we are now considering gay men for People's Sexiest Men of the Year. Because 'cause let's be honest, most of the more attractive men are gay.
Jonathan
Um
Bailey definitely counts as that.
Yeah, it was just more like his intensity, but I feel like also maybe that was just like an acting and directorial choice of just his intensity because it is just this like sort of fairy tale with very like weird over the top people. So it could have just been a choice and it was a little bit to me like I was in the back of my mind like does the movie have a plot twist where Fiero turns out to be a serial killer and like eats her face later or something? But I guess it was a little intense for me.
Did you see it in theaters?
I did.
Okay. I have
Yeah.
not seen it yet. I saw the first one in theaters, and I loved it, and I watched it all the time. We
Oh,
watched
it
it
was
the
really
30
good.
times.
And I was also saying, like, on the female friendship point, my friend was asking about how it compared to the musical, which it's a lot closer to the musical than it is to the books. I don't recommend the book Wicked. It just has a different energy, and it's just, like, very dark and weird. But, like, a key missing point from it, I was telling her, is that you don't have that female friendship between Elphaba and Glinda. It's just, like, she is a character in there, but Glinda just kinda, like, goes off and, like, becomes the wife of a governor or something and just remains, like, a very silly, airheaded popular girl and isn't as much of a featured character, so that, to me, is actually a huge difference and something that they put into the musical that I think is what made it such a beloved thing because to me and that was what my friend was saying too, that is, like, the best part of the Wicked musical and movies is that female friendship that, like, trumps all else.
Pop Demon Hunters, major
Aw.
bright point of 2025, just like a wonderful story of strong friendships, like being yourself.
Yeah,
There is a guy,
a
but the
little
guy's
shadow
not.
daddy in there. Yeah,
A little
exactly,
bit of me,
level
but not
shadow
too
daddy.
much.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like of all the dumb crap that your kids watch, actually this one was, sold to me by other parents, and I think that they were telling the truth of it's just, like, something that parents would genuinely enjoy watching and had a nice message, has good music, I will say. It's got great actors in it, and if I hear the songs from that movie one more time, I will just, like, smash something
No,
because
that's
my
how
children
Mr.
listen to
K
that
feels, but
album.
that is not how I feel. I'm like, bring it on again and again and again. They're awesome.
I think that that is a gift, that is a mom gift because kids do just wanna listen to music over and over again, and if you are a parent that can be down with that, then I think that that is such a lovely thing to give to your children because both Mr. SJ and I are like, "If we hear that song one more fucking time, like, you can listen to anything except these songs that we have had on repeat."
Bananas Don't Jiggle Jiggle by the Minions. I apparently listened to 364 times.
I know, our Spotify Wraps, let's have that be a whole chapter that I just don't want to discuss. It's to the point where I did get
Bananas
this
don't jiggle jiggle.
Spotify family account, and so that my children can have their own profile on it and they stop messing up. And just because my son controls the Spotify from like the little Google Home Assistant thing. And so I would be like driving in the car listening to music and he's at home and he would put something on and it would like wrest control of my music from me so that he could listen to something that was ruining my Spotify Wrapped history. And so also just for the ability to be able to listen to my own things, I made them their own account and made sure that every device in the house that's not my phone is logged into it. So it hasn't completely fixed my listening history,
So
but
listeners everywhere, highly advise a family account with separate accounts for little kids so that you can see your own Spotify Wrapped.
exactly. It's probably still not good, but at least now I do have the excuse of my children ruining it.
Do we want to go into books? And public
Obviously, for the good
honor.
girls, we were reading all of the books. So the one that surprised me when I was just kind of looking back at 2025 reads, because I was catching up and reading this one from being behind
I
on
didn't
it.
realize that Onyx Storm came
Onyx
out this
Storm
year.
actually came out, and this one I did fact check because it was, I was like, it didn't really, because I feel like I was seeing content about it all year, but it came out in January of 2025.
I actually think that I read all of Fourth Wing when Onyx Storm came out because all the publicity for it made me like, fine, I'll open this effing book and then
So you had not read it until Onyx Storm came out either.
yes, I was not
Oh.
sitting there waiting for Onyx Storm's release.
Okay, okay, yeah, me neither. I was still catching
Now
up
I'm
on
sitting
the
there waiting for the
series.
4th and the 5th to
I know,
release.
and it's like, when is she going to write these? And I also had a lot of
She's doing too good of a job holding her boundaries. It's like, "Yes, go
no,
you, Rebecca Yarros, but also give me 4 and 5."
I know, and also I guess whatever contractual other stuff that her
Yes.
publisher has her on the hook to do, which is like, leave her alone, let her do what her fans want her to do. But that was one I have heard before that people say that some romantasy authors that it's actually a cover for conservative ideology kind of things where they like wrap it up in this tale of good and evil and then you don't actually realize that you're reading conservative propaganda. However, specifically for the Fourth Wing series, I listened to an interview with Rebecca Yarros and it's actually the opposite where she said that her inspiration for this world was the refusal to teach about American history with race and slavery in this country. And that was her inspiration for the basis of like, if you erase your history and don't learn about the atrocities committed in the past, that you stand to repeat them in the future. And she was talking about how when you put those kinds of like moral stories into a fantasy universe, that it makes it something that helps people re-examine their own world and with that same lens. And I was like very impressed because I think that there are some people who are maybe more politically on the side of like, oh yeah, like let's stop talking so much about race, blah, blah, blah. Um, who are reading her books and are like, "Oh yeah, this is so good," and like, "I can't believe that they like erased their history about like what they did in this imaginary
The
world."
books were hidden, yeah.
Yeah, that is helping you kind of, sensitize yourself to this thought of, like it is a very, like, humanistic kind of thing of they're, like with the refugees too, how the government is like, "Oh, we can't let these people in because we have to close our borders and be safe," and you can read it in the context of this book and be like, "These imaginary people should be allowed to, like, have their right to safety and livelihood," so I liked that she maybe is a little
Yeah.
bit bringing in a new audience to be thinking about these ideas.
So I think that a lot of that talk comes from the fact that a lot of fantasy characters, they're women in their upper teens, lower 20s, and they end up finding a guy who they're then mated with for life in so many of the
Mhm.
cases,
It's like
and they
finding
have
God's
kids.
choice. It is like the fantasy version of the high school girls I knew that were like, "I'm waiting to find the husband that God has picked out for me,"
Yeah,
at age 20.
I guess I like mixed use. I don't know, a book written by a woman for a woman. Most women there are women who have more polygamous beliefs, and they want the opportunity to have like multiple partners and not be tied down. But I'm pretty sure it's like the high majority do want to
Mhm.
be in like a monogamous relationship. And so if we're in a fantasy world that is supposed to be escapism, is it is it conservatism to make it that they do find, like, the person who they love and all that? Or is it just part of, like, the escapism world? Like, do we want, like, many on and off relationships?
Yeah, and I
I
guess
don't
it's like it
know.
goes beyond the like nature of the relationships as well to sometimes the world building. And I think in more recent years, we've started to see more like kind of morally complex characters and stories. But historically, the fantasy world was very like it's always these tales of good versus evil. And I think that also appeals to a more like right wing kind of worldview that it's like the idea is that your opponents are evil and you are the like bringers of good and your opponents are the bringers of evil. And I think that that was sometimes used to like justify going to war with enemies rather than finding diplomatic solutions. But that even has begun to change with like so many fantasy books now that are stories more where the characters are like in a war situation, like in Fourth Wing, and then they realize that they're actually like part of a government that's like on the wrong side that is like perpetuating this war, but the people that they were told were the enemy is not actually the enemy. So I do actually think that like the world of fantasy is becoming more morally complex to
Nuanced.
kind of like reflect the fact that many of us are like, oh yeah, it's not just like we're the good guys and then there are these like orcs out there that we have to kill before they kill us. But this idea that it's like maybe your enemies are like actually not the bad guy is definitely a thing.
Yes.
I also feel like there's just a lot of 2025 continued the trends on the up just with the whole world of people self-publishing that really continues to increase the diversity that we find, for good, and, we definitely have more diverse voices in there. It allows authors to just break in and, I guess, like, sort of democratizing the world of literature because it's just, like, whatever people download and read a lot or are sharing on Book Talk is what's getting out there. On the other hand, sometimes I'm like, there is just a
So
lot of shit out there.
I want to pull up. So Book of Azrael is international bestseller and any like top list. You're gonna see
Mhm,
Book of
mhm.
Azrael again and again. And what made me smile so much is seeing the author, Amber V. Nicole, who's this total hottie. And I'm not trying to objectify you,
Oh, no, no, no,
Amber
she's
V. Nicole. I hope, based off of like how the books seem, like she seems like incredibly successful, all that. And I think that these like all these different ways of publishing allow people who like maybe a traditional publisher would see and be like, "Oh, you don't look like a serious writer to me. I'm expecting this like, gray-haired man to
mhm,
be it."
mhm.
But instead, like you kind of get your own chance to put things out there. And Rebecca Yarros, like she always has purple on her hair. Very consistent. All this. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I love all these women doing awesome in the world of books.
Yeah, and I just
So
feel like queer authors and, yeah, just, like, more opportunities for women to have success because I think, like, traditionally women weren't taken seriously in publishing, especially if they are writing these books oriented towards women that is seen as like very fluffy. And so with the whole world of book talk, it's just and like that people can download whatever they want to download. I think that it's really starting to change in favor of it's just like the people can get what they want and then you're seeing these authors that traditionally would have had a harder time be successful. So love to see that.
yeah, and it's a major 2025 thing, I would say, book talk, because there's some people who are like, oh, the book talkers who only talk about like romantic and romanticy are like taking over the book talk community and like they're only focused on this literature that we don't really consider literature. And it's like, well, I think that they're just doing the best. Like, I
With
hate
all of this
this.
is it is, like, more I mean, obviously, you can
It's a
get into if
democracy.
there's any, like, bias in how the algorithms are done and stuff, but if anything
There's a bias that is done by whatever's most popular and gets most engagement.
right, and if there's
Like,
anything, if there is, like, built-in biases to it, one is, like, screening out potentially, like, what could be viewed as sexually explicit content, so the fact that they are talking about books that contain sexually explicit stuff, and they are, like, still rising to the top, if anything, what's getting screened out is that more explicit stuff. Um, I feel like my issue is more that is just like whatever is like sells and I'm all in favor of books that are just like easy to read escapism. I'm obviously a little bit newer to the world of like some of this easy reading stuff and there's like
but
this part of me
a
that
reason why
wants
you're newer, I think, is because of your friendship with me that brings you downhill. But I think that it is that there's more cognitive offloading needed in this year more than ever,
that's
maybe.
true.
Like, as we're, mom, so many different things going on the work and all that, that sometimes when you read, you want that to be this place that's totally separate.
Yeah, yeah, I think that I definitely see the value in the cognitive offloading, and I guess it's also if you have this stereotype of yourself as a serious person, and, like, in my spare time, I'm listening to NPR and watching documentaries about things and reading literature, and that it's like, oh, if you're somebody with a graduate degree, you have to be spending your spare time reading, New Yorker articles instead of allowing yourself to enjoy things that are fun. But I will say, like, what kind of tires me out sometimes about reading too many of these in a row is just the love of these tropes, and then I do find that if especially if you're just reading, like, I'm picking up on just the top stuff of, like, what's the highest
Miscommunication,
r
you're
rated.
right.
Yeah, then I do get a little bit tired sometimes of just, like, the consistency of the tropes, which I understand the purpose of is to make them very, like, formulaic, easy to read, like, that it's gonna, have certain elements to it. On the other hand, sometimes I'm like, I feel like we could really get a lot of enjoyment out of just, like, deviating a bit from the tropes. So that is, I think, kind of like the downside of some of this very book talk driven books is that they are like, "Okay, like, we've identified what the people want, and we're just gonna, like, give them a bunch of that copy paste, copy paste." And so I'm sure that the diversity is out there too, and the need is to just step outside a bit or refine your algorithm a bit so that you're not just getting the best-selling books, but finding something that's a bit in whatever niche is attractive to you.
Yes, absolutely.
And, on the widely read thing, so did you read Ali Hazelwood's book this year?
Every single one the day that it comes out. So she had 3 released this
Oh,
year, and
right.
that's not even counting that she had 1 released only to audio. I'm sure to let, like, some contract with Amazon that she would help them boost their Audible
Uh-huh.
use. Problematic Summer Romance, which was an age gap romance. Deep End, which was a kink romance where they did a little bit of, like, lightest form of BDSM ever. I was like, "Okay, I realize that you are labeling this as, like, your kink, very, like, dirty one, but this is, like, very, very
Kinks for
light
people
BDSM."
who aren't kinky.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna withhold your orgasm on you, and that's about it."
Mm.
It was sexy, don't get me wrong, it was definitely sexy. And Mate, which was not my favorite, it was the sequel-ish to Bride, which was excellent. So, Ali Hazelwood, queen of, science-y romance and kinda new to, fantasy, but, of course, just, like, making a total name for herself. Our friend who's in Chile just saw her book on the shelves there.
Oh,
Apparently, the
nice.
word for mate is alpha, like ALFA?
Oh.
Hmm,
Uh,
I'll
I
need to look
think
that
that
up.
sometimes I think that they don't translate that. I think alpha means alpha. Uh,
Ah, that makes sense.
I think that they maybe don't always directly translate the titles because there isn't maybe quite the same meaning for the words if you translate them directly.
Yeah, alpha okay, yeah. That makes more sense. I was like, "Huh, that's so funny because he is an alpha, but apparently alpha is a word for mate, I didn't know."
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times when I see the, like, versions of books in other languages, it's not like especially with the title, they didn't just, like,
Like the
directly
bluff
translate
version.
it because, yeah, it just hits different, so they kinda come up with a title that will, like, speak to that audience and make sense in the language. Also on our widely published, widely read authors list, Emily Henry had a new book, Great Big Beautiful Life, out this year.
Unfortunately, I'm just waiting for another book lovers. So even though Great Big Beautiful Life was a sweet story, I want Early be the same height, if not centimeters shorter than the main character, which it was in books. It's just book lovers was just great.
Yeah, I heard did you read Great Big Beautiful Life?
Yeah, I
Oh,
got it on audio and
mm.
textbook the day it came out.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. No, I didn't read this one, but I had also heard the reviews that it was like, all right, sweetie, we understand that you're probably in some kind of contract with your publisher and people like Kay are going to buy your books no matter what, but it's okay to like pull a Rebecca Yarros and just chill out until you have something that's fully baked. Because what I was hearing from this was just like not a lot of chemistry between the characters. One reviewer described it as it's just
I had
misgenred.
no interest in, like, the 2 main characters being with each other. Like, I liked them both, but I was like, "Be together, don't be together." Seems like it's
Yeah,
fine either
and
way.
somebody was like, "Why are we calling this a romance other than the fact that Emily Henry wrote it and her books tend to have a romantic core storyline?" But they were like, "It was really the book about the sort of interesting exposition of the story about the old lady whose life
Yes,
they're
and
writing
that
about,
was the love
and then there's
story.
this ancillary love story bit with the main characters, but everybody's reviews on that seemed like there was just not a lot to like about the male main character, and we
It was,
didn't we didn't pick up on the chemistry. All right.
yeah, but Emily Henry's People We Meet on Vacation is gonna be streamed on Netflix in
Uh,
2026, and you have to watch the trailers because it looks so cute.
I just feel like her books lend themselves so well to being movies, so that is bound. Do we know who's cast in it yet or anything?
Ooh, so the cast is excellent, because it's Tom Blythe and Emily Bader is Poppy, and they just look so perfect for the role. Again, like, watch the
I could
trailer, it
totally
will
see them
make you
together.
smile, and Tom Blythe looks extremely, like a male lead you wanna root for, so
Yeah, yeah, a little bit of that, like, Adam Brody energy, who is my favorite male lead. Oh, on the TV one, I should have, to go back to that one, I did really enjoy the 2nd season of Nobody Wants This. Did you watch?
I haven't, but I get recommended it all the
Okay, well,
time.
have you watched any of it?
No, I think I watched, like, the first, like, 20 minutes, and I was like, "Ah, this is cute, but I don't need to keep watching." But I've been recommended enough that I
Like,
feel
get
like I
into it.
should.
I think if for no other reason, just the
I
total
like Adam
overlap
Brody.
between, like, a shiksa married to or, like, not married on the show, but, like, a shiksa dating a Jewish guy, and I mean, obviously a little bit different because Adam Brody's character is,
It's a
like, this
rabbi,
a
yeah.
rabbi who's, like, very, like, sweet and pure and devout, and I guess Mr. K is maybe not, as hardcore into his Judaism, but, still just, like, sort of some of the vibes. And because then she has, like, a sex podcast. She has a podcast about her dating life
It's
that
ba
is
I'm basically Kristen Bell.
yeah, I know, and I feel like you have a little bit of Kristen Bell energy. So I just really feel like, which I guess that would make me like her slutty bitchy sister that she co-hosts the podcast with, which, she's gorgeous, so I'd be fine
Okay.
with.
My favorite Kristen Bell story is that for her birthday, Jax got her a sloth to come, and she was like started crying because she was so overwhelmed with happiness about it. And then she's like, "Is he coming to the party?"
I just feel like she's one of those people that in real life I would genuinely enjoy hanging out with her. I would say that season 2 of the show is a little bit different from season 1. And, so often when there's a show that has like a cute storyline for season 1, you're like, will they be able to keep this going for season 2?
Sounds like
And
they were,
I
based off the number
I
of people.
thoroughly enjoyed it, if for no other reason, because I felt like it's just all of the characters are funny and enjoyable. And I think the main complaint against the show has been the like portrayal of the Jewish mother, and that they're like, oh, it's like so over the top about like the stereotypes about your Jewish mother. But like, I don't know.
They
Then some of
exist.
my friends who have Jewish mothers are like, I mean, the stereotype's there for a reason. Listen to the show, make your own conclusions.
I
Then
wanna call out First Time Caller by BK Byerson. Ooh, Borison, BK Borison, because BK Borison is from Baltimore.
yes, it is a Baltimore specific romance. So if you are a Baltimore person, former or present, then you just can enjoy all the little Baltimore Easter eggs in there. And it's a cute story. It's not usually something that good girls would read in terms of BK Borison is not smutty. But if you want just like a sweet romance, it's a really good book.
Yay! And, The Compound?
Oh, for people who read
Serious reads.
non-smutty books. So I would say I'm suggesting this one. I'm not going to suggest the Ezra Klein book that my book club read, or like the depressing Italian novel about the struggles of motherhood that we read, because that's not for a good girls audience. But I think that this is a good kind of crossover one of it's not one of our typical reads, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Kind of takes place in a dystopian future, but you never see anything outside of this compound, which is a very Love Island type of dating reality show. But you get the impression that they're living in a world that, I don't know, things are just a little bit shitty, and there's a lot of people who are just living very, I mean, probably not that different from our world, that you get that there's a lot of wealth inequality and a lot of people just living very hand to mouth. And so you can have the opportunity to go on this Love Island type of show, which is that like there's some girls and some guys, and then there's an uneven number, and you have to pair up with somebody. And if you're not paired up with somebody in a bed by the time night falls, if you're the like one person left out, then you get sent home. They just have all these challenges that kind of push beyond the boundaries of even what we typically see on reality
But it's not
television.
smutty?
No, I mean, it's
That
a
was surprising to
it's a
me.
little bit more of, like, I wouldn't exactly call it a thrill. It's like this, like, weird vibes, kind of like you wanna see what happens, but it's not a thriller. And Aisling Rawl is Irish. So although the show is very, like, non-specific about where it's taking place or what exactly there's definitely, like, characters having sex with each other, but it's always just, like, part of their ploys on this reality show to get prizes or to stay on the show. It's not smutty in terms of, like, explicitly describing the sex scenes or that the characters are, like, particularly motivated by their sexual attraction to each other so much as their, like, machinations to win, but it keeps you interested the whole time and also at the same time makes you think of a lot of questions about our complicity in stuff with these reality shows and the main character begins to question like what is really the benefit of like doing bad things in order to win this thing that you thought that you wanted, but you begin to question if that's what you really wanted. So anyway, it was just like
Cool.
a very unique book.
I'll read if I can easily access it.
There you go. Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
you can
and by the
download it
way,
on
that is not
Kindle.
referencing I should have been clarified, that is not referencing pirating anything. I'm, like, super, super anti-pirating, and I will, like, get into an argument with anybody who tries to justify it.
I had a
I meant
paper
more
copy of
yeah.
it, but I gave it to my sister, who I will say is, like, somebody who she's like, "I'm not much of a reader because she was, like, ADHD, like, I just don't find myself, like, sitting down and reading a whole book, but I gave her this one because I was like, "You might actually enjoy this book because it is very fast-paced and very interesting of, like, reading a reality show, but, just, like, also a little bit more amped up."
Cool. So, big music year in terms and I can only be, like, a woman in my 30s. So,
Yeah.
Taylor Swift releasing,
The white women in their 30s have to talk about Taylor Swift.
yeah, The Life of a Showgirl was just a burst of joy. It objectively was. I thought it was, like, a very, very fun album that had, like, just a lovely vibe through it.
It was fun. I will say that I'm
Of
not a
course.
Swiftie, but I will say I'm also at the same time, like, I'm not gonna give her shit. I'm happy that she's happy. I definitely agree with the people who are like, I think her creative muse was all of her heartbreak. So while we're happy for her that she's found happiness, it also just means that she's got the campiness without the creative drive. I didn't mind that because I thought it was still like a fun poppy album. It didn't speak to me, but I also
Gosh,
wasn't like,
I'm, like,
oh, Taylor
thankful for
has
a
lost
happy
it.
muse. I don't know. When it's cold and rainy, I can put on one of her depressing albums, and
True,
then, like, when
true,
I'm
we still have her
happy
earlier works. Yeah, it's like I didn't dislike it. I'm not gonna be one of those people out there, like, writing blog posts, especially about this incredibly talented, driven woman who was, like, doing these 3-hour-long live shows. I'm like, blessings to her and happiness to her and Travis Kelce. Like, I kinda don't really care about billionaires' weddings at all, so I don't know, like, I won't I shan't be
we're
following the
both being
wedding
very on
coverage.
brand for ourselves.
Totally.
I don't necessarily care. I'm not someone who follows in death in other people's relationships or anything like that. I just know, like, happy vibes from that album, so it made me happy to listen
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
A Man's Best Friend by Sabrina Carpenter. I feel like I feel like I really only listened to, like, 1 or 2 songs on it, but I just love Sabrina Carpenter.
I love her
Cutes.
energy. I just love this whole era of the pop girlies that we continue to be in and just how much of this, like, they are supportive of one another. You cannot get them to just, like, talk shit. I don't know, that, like, 90s culture of it was just very, like, you were a fan of this pop star or that one, and then you had to shit talk about the others, and it's like, I love being in an era where it's not about women tearing each other down, and I loved the, Stevie Nicks quote that she said that she was talking to Katy Perry, and Katy Perry's like, "Oh, how do you deal with, like, all of this, like, negativity, like, a all the other women, you go on the internet and their fans are, like, tearing you down," and Stevie Nicks was just like, "I don't have rivals, and if you got off the internet, you wouldn't have rivals either."
Oh, go Stevie
I know,
Nicks.
she was like, she's like, "Every female musician that I know is a dear friend," and she's like, "And we collaborate with each other, and we lift each other up," and she's like, "Get off the internet and stop, like, trolling," and I was like, "Good advice to Katy Perry," because, I don't know, she
Go
needs to
Stevie.
yeah, go Stevie, remains our queen. Yeah, less
Adela.
Katy Perry energy in 2026, more Billie Eilish. Give your money all away, shorties.
I don't even know Adela. I'm so
Oh, I put that in there because I was just like, I think that as millennial moms, we are just very much do not have time to discover new music. And we're either listening to our old comfort favorites of like me replaying my Boys to Men jams
and me,
or,
Taylor Swift.
just our go tos like Taylor Swift, that it's like we know that we're going to like her. So Adela was one that if I'm going to highlight one artist that I think a millennial mom might enjoy checking out while you're on your run or something. She's fun pop girly vibe that kind of is coming into the scene in 2025. And her music to me reminds me very much of the, like, just, like, fun in the club, like, pop synth kind of music of our 2000s era, and even a little bit her aesthetic looks early 2000s sometimes to me with, like, her low-rise jeans and stuff, so, Adela is my recommendation for not to be confused with Adele, who is very much already a millennial icon.
Very cool. So, moving forward to in the news.
We feel obligated to talk about this even though it's very depressing, but there is just, especially when we want to talk all things good girls and smut, there's just so much smut, like, in the day-to-day news this year with the Epstein files starting to come to light, and there's still being very little accountability to date
Uh,
for these predators.
yes, and really won't be for quite a lot of them because they were rich and powerful, and that is how our society works.
So I've heard people say that have worked in combating fascist states that one of the most important things that you can do is just continue to make fun of them and be silly because that is something that fascism cannot stand up to because they have to exist by puffing up their whole kind of like, I'm an important dictator with many medals and my FIFA World Peace Prize. So I think the more that we can just recognize the just like utter silliness, and they're just, like, complete absolute dweebs out there. Um, I don't feel like I have the energy to get into all things Trump, but I feel like a great way to just sum up, what
Now the Trump Kennedy Center,
yeah, enjoy
the Patriot Games,
your holiday at the Trump Kennedy Center, DC, good girls.
ticket
Um,
sales down significantly,
yeah.
compared to last year at this time.
I am just, like, waiting for and hoping that it all just kinda continues to crumble in 2026. My, quote to sum up Trump's, weird sexual energy that he brings to all things is just going to be him talking about Caroline Leavitt's lips, which I was looking up the quote today, and then I realized that this is actually several times that he has said this, talking about her beautiful face and those lips that don't stop up like a little machine gun. But that was actually there were 3 separate quotes where he talked about her lips moving like a machine gun, and, um, I'm just gonna float that
Maybe
out
him and,
there.
like, B. Lieback
Yeah,
get
I
down with
do
each other.
I do think that, B. Lieback might actually just be Caroline Leavitt or something, with her fantasies, and, we won't talk about her, lip filler injection vibes in her Vanity Fair photo shoot because I feel like the internet's already covering that well, but, yikes.
Ugh.
I don't wanna talk about negatively about women's bodies, but I do think that we should all talk about having a healthy relationship with a, you know, registered medical practitioner to administer your lip fillers so that you do not have happen to you whatever has happened to really all of the women with Mar-a-Lago face.
Yeah, proceed with care.
In podcast news, I listened to Sarah Marshall did a special run podcast called The Devil You Know on the Satanic Panic in the 80s and 90s, which I did not know a lot about. But her connection was actually on how like these moral panics kind of continue and the Satanic Panic as like kind of a precursor to the current moral panic about LGBT folks and like transgender I wanna say rights, but it's even just, like, their existence as human beings is called into question right now. So I felt like that if you did want something, this has to be my role on the podcast to be like, "Here's an interesting article in The New Yorker that you could read." Did totally like that podcast for giving me some historical perspective on how apparently this is just our jam in America about, like, finding somebody to blame because the general, like, moral arc of the country is shifting in a way that, like, old conservative Christian people don't like.
Yes, I'll check that out. That sounds interesting.
You're like, "I will be reading more smut from the author of Unwrap Me." And not that.
I told you I'm looking for kind of offloading here.
Okay, well, if you want a little bit of balance between, keeping hip on political things and, reading just, like, some absolutely terrible smut, one of my smut news stories, I feel like, from 2025 was the whole weird energy between JD Vance and Erica Kirk, the
No,
widow of
that's not
Charlie
what I
Kirk.
was looking for with the cognitive offloading.
No, not at all completely, but just because I don't know, I hate myself, I guess. I was like, somebody out there has to have been writing fan fiction about
Has somebody?
somebody has. So
I,
I
like, love the internet. It's like there's so many weird corners. Of course, somebody wrote JD Vance and Erica Kirk fanfic.
I
It's
know.
not on Archives of Our Own, is it?
It is on Archive of Our Own, of course, and it is written by Creamy Balls 69. It's titled The Forbidden Fruit. I didn't read it and I shan't read it, but
Oh,
I will just give the description of Erica Kirk thought she was in a happy marriage with the love of her life, Charlie, until her unwanted thoughts about JD Vance shattered her illusion of marital bliss. How can she navigate such wicked desires while maintaining the facade of the perfect wife? And trigger warnings include graphic description of violence and Charlie Kirk dying.
okay. Well, those are some pretty big trigger warnings, Archive of Our Own Creamy Balls
I
writer.
just am so curious how Creamy Balls has turned this into smut, and at the same time, I will never be curious enough to click on the "Yes, continue" button, on after the trigger warning description of this.
I would have to be in a dark place to want to click, and that's saying something because I'll read just about anything.
So now we have potentially found something that is darker than Krampus
And
holiday
I'm willing to
fiction.
go. So, going on, what are our wish lists for 2026? What are 3 things that you want to see as our pop culture things that you hope we announce in our next year's wrap up?
This is my wish list, Kay. So one, I want more. I am going to read more romantasy. I am going to continue my cognitive
I'll try
off.
to recommend some strong ones
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
feel like you've
So
got
I think I
stuff.
started with just like reading the ones, like
Most
the
popular.
Court of Thorns and Roses. Yeah, that is just like the ones that are the basic reading that I feel like if I'm going to be talking about this on a podcast, I have to have read the foundational works. In 2026, I'm looking to just find like maybe some of the quirkier female main characters that I identify with, maybe some that are like a size 6 or bigger that aren't like little skinny waifs that are going to blow away in the wind.
Trickier.
Because I want, when I hear this stuff about her, picking up a battle axe and defeating whatever kinds of enemies,
I don't want to imagine a twig.
I want to believe that she is somebody who could physically wield a battle axe, and so I'm looking for, Alona Mar, if somebody the rugby player, who I think is gorgeous, and she was, like, one of the Betches of the year, and they did, like, a really hot photo shoot with her, and I'm just like, "Let's talk more about not just women who are a size 6 or bigger being hot, but also, like, women who are, like, fucking athletic." If you're gonna be writing books about women who, like, ride around on horses, swinging swords and stuff, like, make them fucking built like a woman who can swing a sword. And so Alona Mar is my queen and my inspiration, and I want somebody to write a romantasy book with her as the lead. Second on my wish list, Barbie movie in real life.
I just see that as like you want the guys in our neighborhood to have a Dojo Mojo Casa.
So I feel like we are currently in our Dojo Mojo Casa era in this entire fucking country. And you know what? The Kens have had their chance. They, much like the Kens in the movie, are not doing a great job and are too busy just like having fights with each other on the beach. And so, boys, you have had your chance in 2026. I want Issa Rae for president and an all female Supreme Court. Not too much
Woohoo!
to ask.
Yeah, definitely possible. We'll report back to you.
And I think finally on my wish list after our discussion last episode about horny elders and just that whole untapped sex ed market for sexual education for the elderly, I want to combine that with my love of reality TV and have a reality TV show in 2026 that is about somebody who's doing sex ed with the elderly, but maybe put in like some kind of Love Island dating Love is Blind maybe TV show format. Maybe they just take their glasses off and they literally can't see each other. With like the truly elderly. I'm not talking about Golden Bachelor. Way too much Botox there. I'm just talking about people like your grandfather-in-law who are just
You're
like
very normal old people.
dapper 90-year-olds just, like, having a good time at the nursing home and learning how to put condoms on.
And only if they can do a zoom in of us watching this game.
That's what I'm saying. This is why I need it to be a reality show. That shit would kill.
So,
How
my
about for
wish
you, Kay?
list? I want some, like, really funny, like, everybody can laugh at it sex scandal among US politicians. I
More of them. Yeah.
we have some, but we don't have any that are, like, just really just a good time to read about and to kind of laugh and dig. Like, I don't want
We don't want
things that
creamy
make me
balls
feel
fanfic.
sad.
We want, like,
I
just
don't want Matt
genuinely.
Gaetz and, like, younger kids, like, then
Ugh.
feel bad for the younger kids. Like, I want something that's just, like, very, very funny among only consenting adults that gets uncovered, because I think
Like,
all those people have been so laughable and so horrid. I'm not even, like, I'm
if
bipartisan.
full video got released of Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, you saw about this, right? The stuff from the Epstein files about Donald Trump giving Bill Clinton a blowjob?
I don't know if my mind's ready to go there.
So it was like there was, like, an email that
You
was
even
saying
brought that
something
up.
about, "I can't believe that you missed this," because there was, like, an email in there that said something about Bill Clinton or Trump giving Bubba a blowjob, and people were like, "Who's the most famously person nicknamed Bubba? Bill Clinton." And also, they're just both, like, total depraved sluts, so you could totally see it, and both, like, known Epstein friends. So there was a lot of speculation, and of course, conservatives were immediately like, "Oh, that's just all, like, slander, blah, blah, blah." And anyway, like, Democrats, this thing implicates one of your presidents, and we were like, "Dude, we don't care. Like, if he is a Epstein guy, then, like, send him to jail too." But also, if that was just, like, 2 consenting adult men enjoying some blowjobs together,
That's exactly the type of sex scandal I'm looking for.
yeah.
2 consenting people. This
What
has
I'm saying, if
been
video got
a
released,
circus.
would you click on the video?
I would need maybe, I don't know. It's like once you see the site, you can't forget it, so I'll have to think about that. I wasn't ready to hear that happened.
I mean, then maybe it'll
Don't
just
have a
sort of, like,
prepared
purge out
response.
some of the, like, terrible Krampus stuff that's in your brain. There's only room for so many, like, searingly bad things shoved in your brain, right?
Oh my gosh. I
We're
did
about to
see
find
a
out.
sexier picture of Krampus recently, and I was like, "Okay, maybe I can somewhat
Can
imagine
you
that."
reread the Krampus books now that you have a sexier Krampus in your mind?
As soon as they basically described, like, the penis as being animalistic, I was like, "No,
God.
I can't do this with you guys." I want a new Ted Lasso style show. It doesn't have to be like the Ted Lasso season 4, just something like that, which, like, everybody just it made everybody feel good. It made everybody wanna be a better person while still, it
Yeah.
still had a lot of laughs, something like that. And
Yeah, I have a
then
question. Do you want a Ted Lasso, but it's, like, got some smut in it too? Like, if it was, like, a hot Ted Lasso and he also
I don't know.
hooks up with
this
his hot
this gets
co-star?
into, like, the do I want it on screen or do I prefer it on books, and, like, how much am I not preferring it books-wise, and I can tell you that I watched 50 Shades of Grey, and that first movie, it is like a soft core porn, so even that with, like, attractive people, well done, and great lighting, I was like, "Huh, maybe I am a book person
Oh, but it
now."
was so cheesily done. I don't know. I didn't read the book, so I think that I would probably hate both of them. I would say that your litmus test should be to read the Heated Rivalry books and watch the show in 2026 and then decide which that you like better because I have heard very good things about the book and I will say that
Is
the
hot.
show, sorry, is hot.
Okay.
But I haven't read the book, so I also think that there's that thing that if you have read the books first and you have, like, a certain idea of it in your mind, that it is hard to, get on board with, like, however that, like, director production team, like, envisioned it, versus if you start with the show, then that's what you picture the characters to be, and then you can read the books with that in mind, so
Yes, and for books, I just hope kind of things like how the feelings felt like Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life or Ali Hazelwood releasing 3 books in once. I hope that, like, some of my favorite authors who Ali Hazelwood, Emily Henry, Rebecca Yarros, a lot of people are included on that list, Sarah J. Maas. I hope that they put out wonderful books that they were able to take the
mm,
time and love and hold their boundaries and not get caught up in how bad and evil fans can be and, pressuring them to release books and all that and contractors. Like, I hope that that they're able to put out books that I'm so excited to read and I
yeah.
discover new authors similar to them. Because as you know, I read like tons and tons of independent books that have less than 100 reviews. And so that is like my favorite thing to do. Elsie Whitehouse, indie author, she's releasing her second book ever this coming year. I hope that shines and goes through and gets her the attention that she deserves. But it's
Excited for
been
all of this.
yeah, all in all, a great year for pop culture or something. So
We had to have something to fill the existential void. I have a lot of colleagues that are in other countries, and I just, like, checked in with somebody the other day, and she was just like, "Is everybody okay over there in the US?" And I was like, "No.
no,
No, we're
we
not."
definitely are not sane. But I hope that everybody has a wonderful 2026, and thank you so much for being part of our 2025.
Love you, good girls.
Happy New Year's.